What's going on, everybody? Steve back with another skate park tour. This time I'm in Dry Ridge, Kentucky. Yes, that's right. One of the first Kentucky skate park reviews I've ever done. And we're checking out the Dry Ridge Park. This park here it's in Piddle Park in Dry Ridge. Dry Ridge is a small town. It is about 45 minutes south of Cincinnati, Ohio, and the park is a little bit older. I think it's about 15 years old or so. Custom concrete design. Definitely shows its age in terms of kind of like the obstacles. You see things get a little bit steep and it's a little bit more flowy, but it's still a good park, and I'll show you around it, and maybe if you're interested, you come check out the park. The very first part of the park, which is more or less the northeast corner, you see this 5-foot tall hip quarter pipe section. Some of it has coping, some of it doesn't, as you can see, but good place to start, pick up some speed and get going throughout the park. And then as I turn more towards the south, you've got this archway kind of camel hump, almost like a pump track. So you get a few options to come down the quarter, pump over this to pick up speed, and then you can skate around the bowl, or the swimming pool style bowl. Before I get to the bowl specifically, we've got a shorter kind of bank style quarter pipe, very mellow, only about 2 feet tall or so, but it's a good way to pick up speed or just kind of carve around this lower section, do some ollies and stuff like that. Obviously, there's not really coping to grind on this, although I'm sure if you waxed it up, you probably could. But more or less to do like hip transfers and things like that is what this is designed more for. And then towards the opposite side, you kind of have, this is more of the competition style course, but we've got, more or less like a China bank style obstacle along the side here based on the China town banks in San Francisco, with a small hip or fly box, whatever you want to call it, kind of just pump over it and air it if you'd like. And then you've got these bigger street style obstacles. Now these are legit sized Hubbas and handrails. So you can see this rail here. This is about over 3 feet tall at the end of it, round rail, very much the size of a handrail next to this Euro gap. And the Euro gap will kick you up either over a 2-stair or this single stair block. Very steep in nature, about 5 feet tall or so. So you do need some speed to get up it. And then coming down, you've got, obviously the rail as well as these Hubba ledge. This first Hubba ledge is about 2.5 feet off the ground or so, maybe closer to 3 feet. Square on the top. As you can see with the coping on it, it's about 2 feet wide on the top of it. You could technically skate it like a bumped ledge, but it's so high up, this is like waist level, to just get onto the top of it for really only 2 or 3 feet of grinding, so not too practical in that sense. I'm sure more modern skate park designs, you would see this go out farther and probably be shorter as well to just make it more accessible to people. Probably not getting hit very much anymore these days, as just skateboarding preferences have changed. Then you've got this Hubba without that out ledge feature, straight down, probably a little bit longer than the other one, but essentially the same dimensions, pretty steep. This is just a challenge to get on. I mean, it probably is about a 12 or 13 stair if you were finding this in the wild. So the one positive is that it's got coping on it to grind, so it's easy to grind in that sense, or slide. But yeah, it looks like it's been a while since it's really been skated in that manner. The top doesn't have any wax on it at all, so I doubt too many people are hitting. I mentioned this a second ago, but you can see here that you've got this like hip set up here with the little ramp. This is probably one of the more fun elements of the park, in my opinion, because it's relatively mellow, easy to get over. You can do manuals across the top or just air over the hip, however much you'd want to do that. And there's plenty of ways to get speed to get to it. So good, really good hip for all kinds of different tricks. Curves a little bit, so if you're not super comfortable with curved hips, That might take a little bit of getting used to versus like more of a flat pyramid, but still got a lot of options. All right, so I mentioned if you started in the northeast corner of the park, you get like a pump track style outer reach. And so you see the kind of the bumps flow into this hipped quarter area, kind of bold corner. And then it'll go around over these really small bumps that you can pump over and then ride into another like bold section. Now, as you can see, there's dirt and debris kind of collecting, so the drainage isn't great. But this is more of like an old style bowl where you don't have any coping on it, kind of more of like a fish pond setup. You can roll over it, which is great. You don't have to worry about catching your truck on it, but not something that you're gonna like lock into the coping to grind around. But this whole section is only about 3 feet tall as far as a quarter goes. Some sections of it are a bit steeper, so it kind of changes in terms of the overall riding experience, which definitely challenges you. Probably not ideal, but you know, it keeps it interesting. I know the contrast is relatively difficult to see, but there's actually 4 like mini bumps in a row through here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's ways in which you could transfer between the 2 of them if you're feeling creative like that, but more or less just things to kind of pump around on and just get a fun riding experience. And then as we turn towards the other end of the park, so the west side of it, you get more of a snake run. And you can see, looking down here, the top part up there, that's about 8 feet tall based on where I'm standing. So it kind of forms a bit of a snake run to get through this. And so I'm gonna walk up the snake run and then turn around and ride it. But it's just like, you know, I don't know how else to describe it. It's a snake run. So you do have an option to kind of hit it like a Euro gap, which is really interesting, and people certainly have. But yeah, it's just kind of more flowy, not really intended to be something that you grind or have kind of a street type of setup on. Last but not least is the kidney bowl. So I'm going to start here towards the bottom of it and show you that it is about 6 feet tall in the deep end. Shallow end is roughly the same. There's not a whole lot of slope to it. It does get a little bit deeper, I guess, but for all intents and purposes, it stays about the same height. And there is a death box feature over here in the corner on one end, and then a love seat feature right here in the other, to make it feel like a legit, you know, Southern California style bowl. So you do have that. Coping is concrete, not pool coping. Very rounded off, but still in good shape and intact, so you don't have to worry about it being too difficult to grind. And here's the top view of the bowl as well, so you got that whole area to do whatever kind of riding you like. So good bowl, I guess. I'm not really much of a bowl skater, and I'm probably not going to try to skate this one without getting a few reps under my belt, but yeah, if you like bowls, definitely could be. right, so that does it for the Dry Ridge, Kentucky Skate Park. Hope you enjoyed watching this video. As you can see, the skate park is a little bit dated, but does have some fun things to ride around on. And it's very flowy, so even if you don't feel like doing tricks, you can pump around it and have a good time. But yeah, stay tuned for more skate park tours. And if you have any questions about this video or any ideas for parks I should feature in the future, just drop them in the comments and let me know. Thanks for watching.